The High Court sitting in Pretoria has heard that the law requires firearms confiscated by the police undergo a procedure before they are destroyed to ensure that they're not linked to other crimes. Captain Bonginkosi Mtshali says the weapon allegedly used in the murder of football star Senzo Meyiwa was authorized for destruction following the finalization of a lawsuit from Cleveland. It was confiscated from accused number 3 Mnisi Mtshali after he was arrested in a separate matter in 2015.
Even if it's booked for 636, you are still the custodian of that firearm because it's still a Cleveland SAP 13 number that regulates the movement of this firearm to and fro, ballistics, head office, or whatever investigation takes place. But it still needs to come back to you eventually.
Let me try and explain this now. Now, if I recall well, this firearm comes from the case, the Cleveland case, of the possession of the firearm. And destroy. Now, that case was finalized and the docket was closed. Then an instruction was issued that firearm must be destroyed. So, Lana Jengamanje, let's with a new case. Now, at this point in time, this firearm is now booked out with a new case, which has got nothing to do with the Cleveland case, because the Cleveland case has been finalized.
Those firearms that must be destroyed, they must also be destroyed in terms of the law, the Firearms Control Act 60 of 2000.
Yeah, when the National Instruction 8 of 2017.
Yes, it is that legislation as well as the National Instruction
8 of 2017.
2017. That has to do with the SAPS. Now, before a firearm now the firearm is declared forfeited, destroyed. Forfeited to the state, destroyed. That's the instruction, that's the disposal order on the docket.
Yes,
it is so. Now they must go through a process whereby they must be first cleared to see whether there are no other crimes that they are linked to before they are destroyed, correct?
I
agree with you, yes, it is indeed so. And they must go for what is termed an IBI as an Integrated Ballistic Investigation Systems Comparison, and they are given a specific serial number once they are cleared, correct?
analysis more deeper than IPC local.
Yes, it is. However, there's a little bit of a difference where the FSL is concerned. The analyses are much deeper than the acronym. Now, this particular firearm that we are talking about here, if I understood your testimony correctly, and you must correct me if I'm wrong, it was taken for etching whereby an attempt was made to recover the serial number, but that failed. Did I understand you to be saying that yesterday? Pertaining this Cleveland case, yes. Oh, okay. No, that's fine.
Newzroom Africa's Mnisi is at the High Court sitting in Pretoria. He joins us now for a debrief or rather an update of sorts, Linda, because court will resume at 2 p.m. So what have we heard from the exhibit clerk at the time of Senzo Meyiwa's death, Captain Bonginkosi Mtshali?
Mtshali detailing to essentially how they preserved the evidence, that is the firearm that was seized from accused number 3, Mnisi Mtshali, when he was arrested in 2015. The bites that you've just played have essentially explained how that particular firearm was booked out from the storage in 2015, dealing with the Cleveland case that he was arrested for, and then the case was finalized. An order was issued that it should be destroyed, but it was delayed due to a number of issues, including paperwork, which essentially meant that it wasn't destroyed. In 2020 again, the firearm was booked out and inside the evidence bag, and it was booked out, by one of the officers who, Officer Ngema rather, who basically essentially deposed the statement, Mangena who booked out that evidence bag and deposed the statement, and in that statement he essentially indicated that the evidence bag was not sealed. They went on to make investigations or do investigations in the phosphorus case. This is now the case involving the murder of Senzo Meiwa. When he brought it back, that's Colonel Mangena bringing back the firearm in the evidence bag. He was in the company of the investigating officer investigating the murder of Senzo Meiwa, who immediately booked it out, for safekeeping in the national office. Now, at the heart of the questions that the defense is asking is whether or not this piece of evidence, which is the firearm, was not tampered with between 2015 and 2020 when it was booked out by Colonel Mangena. And it was asked to Mtshali whether or not there was evidence that proves, because of the statement that was deposed by Mangena saying that the evidence bag was open, is there evidence that proves that this piece of evidence was not tampered with? Let's take a listen to it.
I'm trying to understand your evidence. To say when all the exhibits are kept in the storeroom, they will either be tagged or also put in an exhibit bag so that they can be easily be identifiable. That was the evidence.
It is indeed so, yes.
So from your evidence and from what has transpired in these records, it shows that there is no evidence that for the duration of 5 years, this exhibit was kept in a sealed exhibit bag.
Yes, in that way I will agree with you.
Now, Captain Mtshali explains to the court that if that exhibit bag was not sealed and was booked out, ballistics would not be able to, would not accept it because it would be open, right? And essentially, what was required then of Colonel Mangena at the time when he saw that the exhibit bag was open, he would have had to raise it or decline to even receive an open exhibit bag. That would prompt Captain Mtshali to write a statement explaining why the exhibit bag was open. Essentially, the defense here trying to say we don't know whether between 2015 and 2020 that this particular piece of evidence was still the same original firearm that was now collected the first time from accused number 3. So all of that evidence is currently being, of course, deliberated in court, and those questions are posed to Captain Mtshali, who says between 2019 and right now, he was, of course, responsible for the storage of those exhibit bags and was not there during 2015 and 2019. So essentially, right now, it is the question around whether or not this firearm that is now in question is the original firearm that was collected in 2015, because as per that evidence, or rather that testimony that was deposed, that statement that was deposed, this particular evidence bag was open when it was collected in 2020 to be investigated for the murder of Senzo Meiwa.
Mnisi, thank you for that report.